Hey, humble family, we are here again with another unnecessary story. This story is about a 22-year-old that was killed while in jail by the prison guards. How that work? Okay, let's check this out. It's working too often, I can tell you that.
Across the world. I do want to get to a developing story that we are following now as 10 New York prison guards have been charged in connection with the fatal beating of a 22-year-old inmate last month, including two charged with murder. It's the second time a group of correctional officers in that state has been indicted for a death behind bars this year. We are hearing from the state attorney right now, providing more information. So let's pop up the audio and listen in.
All right, good afternoon. Everybody all set? Good afternoon. My name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I am the Onondaga County elected DA, and I have been appointed special prosecutor by the Attorney General, Letitia James, to investigate the death of Messiah Nantwi, which, as you know, occurred on March 1st of this year. Today, an Oneida County grand jury reported out a single indictment charging 10 current and former corrections officers with various crimes relating to the death of Mr. Nantwi. 6 other corrections officers who have not appeared in court yet have agreed to cooperate with the special prosecutor, and I have made deals with them. 2 of them will be pleading to felonies, and 4 of them will be pleading to various misdemeanors. All defendants, even those that I've made deals with, are entitled to the presumption of innocence. An indictment is only an indictment. It's a set of allegations, and there's a lot of work yet to be done in this particular case. I'd like to summarize for you what is in the public record regarding the indictment as to the events of Saturday, March 1st of this year. As you all know, and as Commissioner Marcello is acutely aware, at that time, there was a corrections officer strike going on. There was also an influx of National Guardsmen that were present at Midstate and several other correctional facilities throughout the state of New York. At approximately 10:55 a.m. that morning, the people are able to show that all was well in Building 21 where Mr. Nantwi resided. I know that because the corrections officer who was assigned to do rounds on that occasion walked past his room at approximately 10:55 a.m. and there was nothing going on. At about 10:58 a.m., a call went out over the radio at the facility calling for backup. The evidence will show that when the CERT team responded and got there at approximately 11 a.m., there was virtually no or minimal effort to determine what was the need for the backup, what the nature of the call was. No weapons were observed and no assaultive behavior was observed by the CERT team members as they entered Building 21. A non-CERT team member, a corrections officer, recorded the last video of Mr. Nantwi before the alleged assault, and he was no longer able to communicate. That corrections officer exited the room and various CERT team members entered. None of them, to our knowledge at this point, were wearing mandated body-worn cameras. Approximately 4.5 minutes later, Mr. Nantwi is removed from his room and taken down 3 sets of stairs where it is alleged by the grand jury that an additional assault occurred in the stairwell. Handcuffed and taken to the infirmary and laid on the floor in a holding cell, an additional assault is alleged to have occurred by the grand jury. Fragments of Mr. Nantwi's entrance into the infirmary are captured on one corrections officer's body-worn camera. It is not a continuing flow, but there are enough indications to name and identify the individuals involved and some of the things that occurred. Many other corrections officers, apparently intentionally, either turned off their cameras, placed them in an area of concealment, or simply looked the other way. Kunkel ambulance personnel responded to the infirmary following a call at 11:36 a.m. At approximately 11:47 a.m., and at that point detected no signs of life in Mr. Nantwey. It was determined by the Onondaga County Medical Examiner that Mr. Nantwey died from traumatic brain injuries as a result of violent blows to his head, as well as at least 69 other serious blows about his body. No COs required any medical intervention. I was appointed special prosecutor shortly after the incident and assisted by my own investigative team, officials from the Department of Corrections and Community Service, and the New York State Police. We began an investigation and wanted to assist the grand jury in answering the following questions. Who, if anyone, was justified in using physical force against Mr. Nantwey? 2, if initial force was justified, did it remain appropriate and proportionate to the danger presented, if any, throughout the encounter? And did it follow DOC's protocols? And 3rd, were efforts made to thwart my investigation by deception, concealment, or destruction? The grand jury has answered those questions as follows. The first count charges 2 individuals, corrections officers Jonah Levy and Caleb Blair, with depraved mind murder. Not an intentional murder, but a murder so depraved and so wanton and disregarding of human life that New York law allows it to rise to the level of intentional murder. They are charged based on their actions, not only in Mr. Nantwey's room, but also in the stairwell and in the infirmary. Secondly, the grand jury has returned charges of manslaughter in the first degree, intent to cause serious physical injury resulting in death. Those corrections officers are again Levi and Blair, and additionally Thomas Eck, Craig Klemek, and Daniel Berger. They are also charged with gang assault in the first degree, intent to cause serious physical injury, and doing so, a Class B violent felony. Same individuals, Levy, Blair, Eck, Klemek, and Berger. Gang assault in the second degree, intent to cause simply physical injury and resulting in serious physical injury. And this time the same individuals in addition to Sergeant Francis Chandler. Manslaughter in the second degree has been charged against Sergeants David Ferrone and Francis Chandler. The theory of prosecution on that count is that these 2 sergeants in a supervisory role in Mr. Nantwey's room did absolutely nothing to stop the beating that he was enduring and offered absolutely no assistance to him, completely contrary to DOC's protocols and guidelines. Then the grand jury began to focus on the cover-up, as amateurish and ineffective as it was. In the 6th count, David Ferrone, Francis Chandler, Jonah Levy, Caleb Blair, Thomas Eck, Nicholas Vitale, Daniel Berger, and Craig Klemek are charged with conspiracy to offer a false instrument for filing. DOCS has a form known as 2104A, which requires the individual corrections officer who was present to indicate who was present at the scene, what force was used by the author of the report, and what force was witnessed by the author of the report. In addition to charging conspiracy, the grand jury must also allege overt acts. In this case, the overt acts alleged are, number 1, that every single use of force reported by these individuals omitted 2 people, Sergeant Chandler and Corrections Officer Levi, and that was done intentionally. The second overt act, it is alleged that the reports were in fact filed and known to be false when they were filed. And the third overt act alleged is that on the following morning at a diner called Raspberries in Oneida County, all of the co-conspirators met and agreed to continue with the story that everything they did was completely proper. David Ferrone, Francis Chandler, and Thomas Eck are also charged with conspiracy and conspiracy to tamper with physical evidence. These three individuals, along with others known to the grand jury, allegedly concocted a scheme to posthumously plant a weapon in Mr. Nantwee's room. The overt acts alleged in favor of that conspiracy, alleged overt act number one, is that the weapon itself was found earlier that day in a completely unrelated incident. The second overt act, a body-worn camera intentionally hung in a men's room at the infirmary of Midstate, caught two of the co-conspirators discussing the conspiracy to plant the weapon, again posthumously, on Mr. Nantwee. And the third overt act alleged is that defendant Chandler, actually in front of a group of all of the corrections officers, asked for a volunteer to have someone come forward and say that it was he that discovered the weapon. And it is alleged that that quote-unquote volunteer was Thomas Eck. Mr. Slauson, Corrections Officer Donald Slauson, is charged with tampering with physical evidence, and it is alleged that he had cleaned up the holding cell of all of Mr. Nantwee's blood over at the infirmary. And the final defendant is Sergeant Michael Eifert. He is charged, again, with offering a false instrument for filing, allegedly falsely asserting that he had no opportunity to look into the room and, in fact, saw no use of physical force against Mr. Nantwee. I want to thank the staff, my office. Probably 10% of my office has been involved in corrections officers allegedly committing homicides over the last 2 months. And I'm joined here with Senior Assistant DA Sarah Fitzpatrick and Senior Assistant DA Alphonse Williams, who have done an incredible job in helping me present this evidence to a grand jury. I also am joined here today by Ruben Lindo and the Reverend Kevin McCall, who are both individuals who have supported me throughout my endeavors in an effort to get justice, not only for Mr. Brooks, but for Mr. Nantwee as well. I don't believe that anybody from Mr. Nantwee's family is here. The only individual from his family that I've spoken to is through his attorney, his dad, and I understand that his dad is not in the greatest of physical shape and apparently was unable to travel here today. I also want to thank Troopers Tim Doherty, Bill Casey, Tom Quilter, Nenny Doherty, Andy Wilmot, and if I may reserve a special spot for Olivia Tabor, who have been just incredible in helping me present this case.
All right, what you're listening to right there.
Okay, so this is absolutely unnecessary. And this is happening more and more. And some of them are getting away with it. But y'all heard how they tried to cover it up? I mean, my goodness. Y'all met at a restaurant and discussed this? So this poor young man's death didn't mean anything. And we can all look at this young man and go, okay, that could be my son. You know, he's 22 years old. Yes, he did something to get himself in trouble. But he didn't do anything to get himself killed by prison guards. I wonder how many other people these individuals have harmed or killed. And they've gotten away with it. Because they seem awful sure that they could all just get together and this would just all go away. And they would all just stick with the same stories. But I'm glad they threw the book at them. I'm proud of Letitia James. I'm glad she did that because this has to stop. This has to stop. Any of our loved ones could end up in jail for any reason, under any circumstance. Especially being young and dumb. And then they planted a weapon in there to make it seem like he had a weapon. I bet what he was doing was just talking, and they was tired of his talking. But that don't give them the right to kill somebody in a jail as guards. And you were sworn to protect and serve. But we all know that's not exactly how this all go, right? It ain't never just that easy. They never can just protect and serve and be okay with that. They got to take it to the next level. I don't know. All right, y'all tell me if y'all think this is getting out of hand in this country, especially up there in New York. It seems to be really out of control. And somebody's got to do something with somebody. But I can tell you, I come from a town where it was cricket cops, and I had some stuff happen to me that I won't mention. And it's the reason why I live where I live right now, which is no longer in that town or anywhere close to it. Anyway, all right, y'all tell me down below what y'all think. I think they should get the death penalty myself. Or I think they should go to prison and be put in general population with the rest of them. No protective custody. I don't know which one would be worse. Y'all let me know that too. I don't like to have ill will for people, but people like this just don't deserve to live. They don't deserve to breathe earth, air. They don't. All right. Well, I will see y'all on the next one. Love you guys. Bye.